Welcome to Dad Talk Today. My name is Eric Carroll, and we have an amazing show lined up for you. We are fighting for fathers all across the United States and all across the world where you can be glad to be dad. Stick around, guys. Dad Talk Today is about to begin. Hey guys, Eric Carroll here with Dad Talk Today. We got a little bit of a different episode tonight, and we're going to try something out. And I hope you guys will come in here and become a part of the show. Put your comments down there. Everybody's welcome. There is no wrong answers. It's okay to disagree. You might have went through a different experience than somebody else is. But I got a message this morning, and I want to read this. I'm going to keep the person anonymous, but this really meant a lot to me. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, "Good morning. You are my favorite Instagram to follow, although I doubt this is what you do. Thought I'd ask anyway. I had an amazing relationship with my dad, but saw how my mom beat him down inside. It kills me that she held him back from his dreams and success, although I would never say it to her, believe she nagged him to death. However, I am now dating someone who is towards the end of a divorce and has 3 kids. I don't know what happened in their marriage, and I don't pry him with questions. But he says she's crazy, and nothing was ever good enough. He has dated before meeting me, and I feel like he's now blowing hot and cold, and I don't know why. We went from great communication to almost non-existent, and I care about him too much to listen to the typical angry girl advice of walking away. He is a little selfish, but we all have our imperfections, and I have a habit of giving the benefit of the doubt even when it's undeserving. I will always encourage a man to conquer his dreams and be with his kids. I just want him to want me to be a part of it. For the first time, I have listened to online dating coaches, and frankly, they all stink. You would make a fortune giving real man advice, which is what every non-dramatic single woman needs. Sorry for the long-winded message. I just think your posts are spot on, and given there aren't many masculine men left, I don't want to just give up. Any tips on how to handle this? You probably think I'm a nut, haha, but I just think you are awesome." You know, that meant a lot. And the first thing I thought of was, to be completely honest with you, this sounds like me 4 years ago, when I had went through some of my situations and was starting to get back into the dating field. I am remarried now, been remarried for a couple of years. But guys, I'm going to tell you, I was real scared. And sometimes I'd be really hot, with my wife at the time, and then I would get really cold and sometimes just completely shut off. And she stood by me. And I know that had a lot to do with, even though I can't hold her responsible for what I had been through before, after you've been through these relationships, you start getting a lot more guarded. You start paying attention to what's going on and saying, hey, if I put up this wall, or if I, do this, or if I don't get in a relationship anyway, or I just keep them at a distance, I'm not going to go through this anyway. There's a lot of us that want to move on. There's some of you guys that want to stay single. And if that's what you want to do, hey man, that's your choice. But there is a lot of people that want to move on. They're afraid to move on. Dr. Warren Farrell said it best. I think he's even got a book that's named after this. Women can't hear what men don't say. Hearing about these online coaches and these feminist sites that tell these women that they don't need men, that they're better off being by themselves, that's what we're facing every single day as men. And that's what they're providing in that culture. And then that's who's ending up in the dating pool. We've got to start speaking up. I think for a long time it's men need to be more guarded. They need to not show their emotions. They need to not show their feelings. But a lot of us have went through some real life situations that would tear down just about any person out there. So this really inspired me to do something different today. We're going to have a roundtable of 10 fathers. A few of them are going to be familiar faces: Robert Garza, John Gallman, Charles Langevin, that you guys know. But on the other side, there were some random fathers that we brought in here, and we're going to go around the room on this broadcast and talk to them about what that was like, getting back out into that dating field. What was some of their insecurities? What were some of those emotions? And maybe together we can foster this conversation and make a community where we all feel safe to talk about these things, because we should be able to get in here and talk about these things. One thing about divorce, breaking up, child custody issues, it makes you feel so isolated and alone. Like there's nobody else that understands what I'm going through, and I have nobody I can talk to. And I can just tell you from experience of doing this and the amount of people that reach out to us every single day, that's not true. And it's time we show the world what we've got to say. So join us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we would love to hear your feedback down in the comments. Let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome to Dad Talk. Today we have an amazing panel lined up. Look, this is tons of dads, and we're going to talk today. We're going to talk about a subject that was brought up to me earlier today, and I said, it'd be really interesting to get a little roundtable discussion going with some of these men that have been through these issues. Dating after being in a toxic relationship. If you've been through a child custody battle and it got really contentious, and some of the tricks, maybe somebody had an affair on you, made false allegations. When you go to get in a new relationship, you got some guards up. You're like, I don't want to go through that again. I know what that felt like. And it can carry on into that relationship. But us as men, we're told to just suck it up, keep in our emotions, and not talk about it as much. Dr. Warren Farrell said it probably better than anybody else. I even think he made a book called this, Women Can't Hear What Men Don't Say. And today, I think we are going to go around as men, as fathers that have been through some of these issues, and talk to each other about what some of these situations were like and how we progressed in getting away from that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start here, and we'll go from left all the way to the right, from Ajit to Jeff and Robert. I'm going to let every one of you guys introduce yourselves. And once we do that, we'll get into talking about it. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Ajit.
Hey, yeah, I'm Ajit, and I work in technology, and been divorced 4 years, have 2 kids, and they're everything to me, and I'm trying to do the best I can. And now in a new relationship, trying to make sure that I don't screw it up.
Yeah. So Robert Garza, been in family court for about 11 years. Went through crazy custody battle. I still have possession of my kids, actually now more than I had several years ago. So I'm all good. And I'm married.
Yeah.
For about 6 years now. So.
All right. We'll pass it over to Charles.
Hey, everybody. I'm Charles Langevin. I'm divorced. I have 2 children. And I've been working on 50-50 for quite some time, working with Eric a lot, and that's who I am.
Yeah, man. I think both of these guys, they have been warriors going around the country trying to bring out the awareness on 50-50 legislation. We got people that are going to be popping in and out. We got a lot of different guests, so it's getting a little reconfigured here. I'm going to take it back up to the top, and let's go to Daniel. Tell everybody about yourself and where you're from, brother.
Hello, everybody. I'm Daniel. I'm from Missouri. Currently, I guess, kind of getting started on all of this. The wife left me a year ago in July. Kind of rough, bought her a car, the whole 9 yards, trying to be a good provider, and of course got bit. So now I'm fighting for custody. I don't want to take them away from her, but she's got some mental health issues, and it's kind of rough, but I did move on a little too fast sometime, in my opinion, I guess, with my best friend that was female, that was friends with her for years, and she bit me too. So now my guard is really up, and I am going to work on myself, to say the least.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you being here. How about you, Wade? I'm going to let you introduce yourself, man. Tell us where you're from.
Hey, guys. My name's Wade. I'm from the UK, right across the seas. It's the same here as it seems to be everywhere around the world. I had a beautiful daughter with a beautiful ex-partner several years ago. 28. I just picked up her phone one day to see that she'd had an affair. I went to take my daughter. I took police on me, claimed crazy accusations, went through a bit of custody battle. But I did all right at the end. I got custody of my daughter. I got to see her, so it was all good. But recently, we actually got back together a few years back, had another son together, so everything was great. Then earlier on in the year, for her to have an affair at the start of the year, I found out again. Silly me, I took it. She stopped me seeing my kids. I've recently started seeing them again, but at the moment it's getting a bit better due to the new partner. And I've tried to sort of move on and make people breathe. I'm back by her actions at the moment. I just don't think I'm not ready for commitment. I don't think I will be for a long time.
I got you, brother. I appreciate you so much for being here, and I'm actually excited you're on here because that accent, dude. Maybe people won't look at how country my accent is now. I love it, and I hear there's a lot of stuff that's going on over there in the UK, and for a lot of our American audience that don't get to see what's going on across seas, I believe they got it worse than in the United States. They really do. It's really bad over there. So we will get a little bit more into that. Let me pass it down there to Joe Gormley. Joe, how you doing, my man?
Hey, Eric. Thanks so much for having me on, brother.
Hey, man, tell everybody about yourself and where you're from.
So I'm in the Soviet Socialist Republic of New Jersey. We lost my daughter. Last time I saw her was May 2015. Thought, like most of us, that it was unique to me. Haven't seen her since. I finally got divorced in 2018. Started saving fatherhood in 2017. And I got 3 things I want to do in life, man. Is 1, eliminate the family court, destroy it if possible, or make it very different than today. 2, love my wife, and 3, point people to Christ. And to do the other 2, I got to do the last one. So that's it, my brother.
All right. I appreciate you for being here, my man. Mick Barnett, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know he came to the Capitol earlier this year when we tried to get 50-50 there in the state of Texas. And it's good to see you again, man. Tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man. It's really nice to talk with you. I didn't get a chance while I was in Austin, but yeah, you've been really empowering. I want to say for all of us probably here. Yeah, I'm from North Texas. I've been battling through this since I was like 19. I was alienated from my daughter for about 5.5 years. A couple of years ago, I started educating myself, and I finally decided to go pro se, even though, I was obviously terrified. But, at some point, I'm sure we all get to a point where it's like, there's not really much else you can take from me at this point, So I'm actually a certified paralegal now, so I'm trying to work into getting into the field to save, parents that are going through this. I'm really just a musician, so I try to do that in my free time. I actually have some music. Well, a lot of my music is about this stuff. I was going up against my baby mama. Her father's actually a lawyer, so they really had me good. And I didn't come from money. I don't really have a lot of family on my side, so it's been really difficult. But I do currently have standard possession, which was before it changed in Texas. But here we are in the Bible Belt, and not to bash anybody's religion, but typically, that doesn't really help my case because I am I'm an atheist, so that's also not helpful.
Got you, brother. Well, I tell you what, man, we got people from all sorts of different backgrounds and everything, and I'm glad you guys are here. And that's what we're going to start talking about. It seems like everybody has had some of their issues in the family court system that we have here in America, and hasn't been very pretty. And I know everybody's probably got certain situations that they've been through when it comes to this. And I just want to ask you a little bit about that. What was it like for you guys when you said, I'm going to move on? I'm going to start seeing somebody now after being through something like this. What was it like for you after going through that and trying to start dating again? I'm going to pass it to Ajit, and then we'll go to Daniel and Wade, and we'll continue on from there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely, scary because and also I was really worried about how the kids would react, right? So the first thing, I wanted to make sure that the kids were okay with it. And, I actually myself thought that, at some point my ex would come back around, but obviously, that never happened because the fight just kept getting worse. So the first thing, I wanted to see with my kids before I started dating, was to see where they were at with that idea of whether their mom and I were ever going to get back together. And it became very apparent that they didn't see that, and they didn't. In fact, they expressed that they didn't want that. It was almost a year and a half later, I think, after the divorce, that I met my girlfriend. And the way I introduced him to her was very slow. I needed to make sure that this was something that was going somewhere, and it wasn't just a girlfriend, right? So,
right.
For me, it was very important to figure out, hey, is this the person I could marry or not, before I introduced them to my kids. So to me, it was all about, hey, am I going to introduce her to the kids or not? I had an advantage that, she's a TV personality. So I got to ask the kids when she was on TV, hey, what do you think about her? Right. And, she does the weather on TV in the Bay Area. So, and they were like, yeah, she's pretty cool. And she's pretty. And, I got there and slowly kept introducing them to like, well, what do you think about meeting her? And, introduce her as a friend. And then, it started, and our relationship getting more serious as time went by. And so that was great for me because, and I think everybody's situation is different. It just so happens that my situation allowed for that. So yeah, for me, I think it was a blessing in a way that how things kind of transpired allowed for that. Now, for me, it was because of the contentiousness of the divorce. My new girlfriend had to deal with some of those things, and so it actually really showed me what her personality and what her character was like, and the things that she was willing to put up with. Told me a lot about her personality and character. So I think it definitely takes a special type of woman to be able to go through with a guy who's going through false allegations and all sorts of crazy things. And yeah, I had to fight for 50-50 custody. Spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get 50-50 custody, and being dragged back into court is like a regular occurrence, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes a strong person to be able to stand beside a man when they're going through something like that. And I think we need to, speak some praises out there to the women that do stand by these guys that are going through this family court and alienation. I'm going to get a little bit more into that after we get through this first round, but I'm going to get over to Daniel. Daniel, did you start dating again? And if you did, what was it like getting into there? What was some of your insecurities, or maybe you're not now? What was your fears and insecurities going into that?
Well, I confided in my best friend. Like I said, we've been friends for years, and kind of so much so that she'd already knew my kids. And, when I first introduced them, it was, Aunt and then her name. And it went from that to, well, now she's my girlfriend. And then the wife kind of got involved in it too, and kind of got them start calling her mom, which kind of rushed things and put a lot of pressure on both of us, which I think was the beginning of the end for the whole relationship. But I will say my biggest concern was my kids. I want to make sure that the next person I'm with has their best interests as well as mine involved, plus still going through the divorce. Like he was saying, you got to be a strong woman to stand by him.
Absolutely.
To stand by your man, and he's going to have, hard times, and, there's going to be stuff that, not a lot of us can maybe not necessarily talk about, but want to, and you got to find that person that's willing to help you figure it out, not just tell you what you want to hear. And that's
so
what
was you
now.
as eager to get back out and hurry up and start dating, or was you just a little bit more reserved with it before you got into that?
Definitely reserved, only because I'm not good at braiding hair, and I'm not good at matching, clothes and that kind of stuff. I'm learning. I'm going to have to learn.
Yeah.
I definitely want to, but it's just, I'd like to hear it from somebody that knows how to do it, kind of thing. But, I'm
YouTube. That's how I learned how to braid my daughter's hair.
That's what a lot of people have told me. So
I don't know if you tried. Did you try the vacuum cleaner
trick?
trick?
All kinds of stuff, but
the vacuum cleaner and the rubber band thing.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
Dude, you know what? Get us a picture of that when you finally do it, and I want to see it when you get done, man. I'll be cheering you on.
I definitely will. Now that I got stuff kind of lined out, I can supposedly start getting my girls back in my house, so I can spend some more time with them instead of just when she allows it. So
it's awesome, brother.
I'm looking forward to it, to be honest.
I'm going to pass it on to Joe. Joe, did you end up in a relationship, or tell us a little bit about your situation and what it was like moving forward after being in a toxic relationship?
Well, it was really interesting. I'll tell you what, my wife left me twice. My first wife, first time, right 2 months after my daughter was born, she left for 8 months. She came back, and while we had a very hard relationship for the next 8 years living together and a couple more years after that. I got 10 years to actually be a dad and not a weekend visitor, and I'll never regret that. That being said, she left me again in 2012, and that time it was for good. The alienation started happening a couple years later as I was visiting at her parents' house and she wasn't living with me. Then 2015, my daughter was the last time I saw her. And then several years of court, I was told in the last time I saw my daughter was in a psychologist's office, and my daughter said, Mom's plan is to drag out the divorce as long as possible so that I can choose who to live with. And I'm finally done with with appeals and stuff like that just recently. So anyway, my divorce was finalized in June. No, the trial, it was a 13-day trial, was over in the spring of 2018. In August of 2018, I met my future wife, and we were married 9 months after we met. Now, that being said, I'd certainly had friends over that time period, but and I was anxious about getting married. My big thing was no fault divorce. I had no way to hold my ex accountable for abandoning me and breaking the covenant that we supposedly had. As a Christian, I just really wanted somebody who was in their Bible every day so I could trust them. But I still didn't want to get married. I wanted to have a covenant relationship, but I didn't want to trust the state to enforce that because I know they don't enforce it, right? So what I ended up doing, because she wasn't okay with just putting our names in the back of a Bible, don't blame her. So what we ended up doing was we went to New Orleans, where they have a covenant marriage license, so it negates some of the atrocities of no-fault divorce, and we were able to get a covenant relationship. But we've been married now, I guess, 2.5 years.
Gotcha, bro.
And I don't regret it at all. But I do tell 20-year-olds that I meet on the street all the time, I say, don't even think about getting married unless your wife's in the Bible every day.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Charles? Charles, tell us about your situation. That's the ladies' man. I know he was eager to get here, but tell us a little bit about you, brother.
Well, thanks, Eric. Anyway, so my mentality's, I guess, a little bit different. I did kind of rush towards somebody to be close to and stuff like that, and I think that I've probably made questionable decisions about the women that I've chosen, but I've not ever gotten to that point other than one very brief moment of wanting to go and get married again or get into a long-term committed single relationship again. So I haven't brought a lot into my kids' lives as far as this is going to be your stepmom or anything like that. They know girlfriends and stuff like that, but they kind of treat them as they would any other friend. They just sometimes are around a little bit more often. So that's kind of the way that I've taken that approach, is I've just been skittish about doing anything like that.
Yeah. Gotcha, brother. How about you, Wade? What was it like for you getting into that next relationship? I don't know if you have or not, but what was that like, after being through what you've been through, trying to move forward?
So I'll go back to 2018 when I first split up with my partner then. I met a lovely girl. It was lovely. She was lovely, but I don't think in my head I mentally wasn't there. I wasn't ready for it. I jumped into it so quick that it ended up a mess. Within a matter of months, we was at each other's throats. It become bitter and sour. It was horrible. It wasn't fair on her. Do you know what I mean? It was tit for tat. We were both just not obviously made for each other. So with that, obviously, that sort of ended. And then a little while later, I'd give it a go with my children's mum again. Had another little boy. And obviously, we come to the situation we're at now at the moment. I don't think I'm going to be ready for a long time. I mean, I had two previous daughters from a previous marriage many years ago, and I mean I get on brilliant with them. Mum, we co-parent incredibly together. My little girls, after that, they loved my last partner. So after seeing what I went through the first time, and then they were a bit dubious for me themselves. It was at that age where they're understanding and they understand the concept of love and boyfriend and girlfriends. So then when I did get back with her again, that they wasn't overly impressed. I mean, I moved to a different town as well. I was still seeing them regularly, but they didn't like. They felt like she took me away again. So, and my girls were right. That is going to end in misery, and well, it did. So now I'm more dubious for them than myself. I don't want them to have to go through that again and see me. Like I can deal. I've learned to sort of deal with it and move on. But my other children are not, and I have to think of the two after with my previous partner. Do you know what I mean? I want. They need the more stability than I do right now. So for me, I don't see myself moving on for a while yet. But I'm happy. I'm seeing all my children. I work hard, so it's nice. I can still do things with them in that respect. Maybe in a year or two's time, I'll maybe look. But right now, I think me and my children need the time, and I need to show my girls that I'm not going to jump into another relationship. That's me.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about that, what that process was like for you moving on, or maybe you haven't. What was some of that like for you?
Well, I've kind of touched all the bases that everyone else has. Coming out of the gates, I was, I guess, either determined to get back out there and have somebody to help me go through the process. I thought that divorce would be pretty cut and dry and custody would be laid out. So I did date a few people, and a couple of them were actually going through similar situations. So it was nice to have somebody to commiserate with. But I'm entering now my third year of this litigation, and it's evolved into a situation where it's not fair to bring somebody into. My focus is on my sons. It's always been. So as much as I'd have, a little more upside to things if I were able to have somebody in my life, I'm also looking for somebody that would be part of their life. I don't want to introduce a revolving door of people. And, I do share 50-50 custody that I've fought for very hard. So I am fortunate in that aspect. But it hasn't been the right time. I think that when things get resolved and there's less of that acrimony, you want to be your best self before you move into something. I don't think you could bear the burden and the weight of potential alienation. Like Ajit said, the false allegations. There's also a little bit of a smear campaign involved in my situation. So, you want to trust people, but you also have to focus on making sure you're in a good position personally and making sure your kids are secure. So I think there'll be a time. It's just not now. And, I'm not bitter towards marriage. I don't dislike anybody, because of what's happened. I just, and my boys have even said, Dad, you're going to have a girlfriend? I think they miss that family structure. They miss seeing the unit of four people. There was, during marriage, there was a good, relationship, at least in front of the children, where they did enjoy seeing their father with somebody. I don't really get into, what they see at the other house. That's not really my concern. My concern is obviously what they see when they're with me. But there'll be a time. It's just not now.
I understand, brother. I appreciate and respect that. Mick, tell us about that for you, man. What was that like for you, Mick? I don't know if you have went to the next level. If you have, tell us about what that process was like.
Yeah, so it took me quite a while. I definitely dated around a little bit. Real recently, in the past 6 months, has been my first actual serious relationship since I started being alienated back in 2012. And I was still basically a child when this all first went down, and I think the biggest thing that I would want, like females or anybody who doesn't really understand our plight, that just immediately is going to call us deadbeats, is what is being like, what is missing from the story mainly is the PTSD that this type of stuff causes us.
Yep.
And I cannot, because of legal reasons, confirm or deny whether I have that, but I'm getting anxiety just sitting here,
Talking
thinking
about
about all this right now. And,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're all on the verge of tears, and it's just, the stress that we have to go through, like, we would have never been like supportive of dad talk and following all these things before then. I mean, we're all so ignorant to it until it happens to us. And almost anyone I talk to, they at the very least know someone that's going through it, and none of us are safe from this. Like, I constantly, when it first started happening, like, I was like, damn, like, these people are gonna kill me because of the things that she's saying about me. I come from a fairly small town, and it's like I constantly, even today, after years and years, like, feel like there's a target on me. And then I saw the John Mass thing, and that's my worst nightmare coming true. And it doesn't matter if you're Johnny Depp or John Mass, like, none of us are safe from that. And it's so easy for the opposing counsel or anybody on the other side or whatever to try to paint the picture as like we're just schizophrenic or something, and it's not. It's it's terrifying, and our complete manhood and our life and liberty and pursuit of happiness is just torn away from us, and there's nothing we can do. And if we speak about it like we are now, everyone here right now could easily get all the rights to their children taken away just for us having this conversation right here, right now.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. I wanted to touch on that because there definitely is that PTSD. And I think that is what follows us into that next relationship. It affects everything that we do, how we react. If we can get close to somebody, we put that guard up. And this is very real, guys, the plight that a lot of these men are experiencing. Wanted to touch on something that Jeff was talking about a second ago when he was talking about like the smear campaigns. Is there any of you in here that didn't experience a smear campaign when going through this?
Nope.
Guys, this is real. And especially now that social media is out, when these family law situations start going on, some of the tricks that it plays on you, it's hard to even go to work. Not just, we're talking about dating, but go to work and live your daily life without this going on. And I appreciate every single one of you for coming on here and talking about this today, because they will. We discussed beforehand. Don't say your ex's names. Don't say your kids' names, because they'll use any little thing they can against you. And that's sad that we as men just can't come up here and say, hey, man, let me talk to my brothers here. But that's the situation that we're going through. So I appreciate you for saying that, Mick. Who do we got left? Robert Garza.
Going into a new relationship, it was kind of difficult because I went through crazy amount of false allegations and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, but I think what most people have to remember is whoever you're dating or whoever you're looking at dating is not your ex. And you have a brand new chance to start over again. Don't bring your baggage onto them. And that's exactly what I did. Is I had at some point to understand whatever you're feeling is not you, it's what you went through. But don't put that onto them. You want them to put stuff on the wall. So that's kind of the way I went into a relationship. But I did make my wife aware. We should all come with warnings, right? It's like lots of them, but it's not a bad thing. It's just sharing what you've been through, right? So they would understand. So I was very upfront about my wife at the time I was dating her. Well, actually, I wasn't even dating. We were friends. And I told her everything I was going through. I was like, look, if you want to get in a relationship with me, I promise you it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. I gave her all the stuff up front, what was going on. I was very honest with them. And let me tell you something, be honest with whoever you're going to be in a relationship with up front, just so they know everything. Anyway, and here I am 6 years later. We're married. She's a great stepmom to my kids. So that's about it.
So guys, let's go around and give us a few answers. What was your number one fear when thinking about getting into the new relationship, or when you did get in? What was the number one fear that would follow you from your previous relationship? I'll start with you, Ajit.
Yeah, I mean, just the false allegations and all the information that was, everything that was just put against me, that somebody else would actually believe it was true, and that monster I was created out to be was actually the person that people would think. And yeah, for me, it was I tried to live my life in every way possible that was honoring to God, and being a Christian, I felt like I did that. But then I was like just painted with this picture of just most evil man, and everybody around me believed that story. So why would any woman ever accept me for that story, or for that guy that it was painted out? So I mean, that was the first thing I did when I started dating. Third date, I immediately told her everything, all the information, and I was like, most people are not going to believe me, because how often. I mean, I had no idea that there were so many guys like us with all these false allegations. I just thought that, hey, this is only happening to me. So I was like, there's no way that anyone's going to accept me. So that was my biggest fear.
And I can definitely understand that, man. I can. I appreciate you for talking about that. Daniel, what was your number one fear what is your number one fear getting into a new relationship?
Getting it wrong. I mean, what I mean by that is I've chose wrong twice now, and for various reasons, everything from people saying this, well, I heard that, coming from a small town, the rumor mill gets around faster than the mail does sometimes, but it's just I don't want to put effort into the wrong people, and having the kids go through that, and not only them but myself. I mean, you gotta. To me, trust is everything. If you can't trust somebody with your secrets, or however you want to word it, then there's no point. I mean, the main thing I've learned is you got to trust in yourself, and you got to trust your gut. If your gut's telling you don't do something, you better not do it. And that's something I've struggled with, especially in relationships. You confide in somebody, and the next thing you know, they're using it against you, whether it's you changed a flat tire for an elderly lady, or you stayed out late with a buddy and you had one or too many beers. You never know what people turn that into.
You bring up a very big point, because I believe it's through trust. When we find somebody, we confide in them. We tell them some of the deepest, darkest secrets, our vulnerabilities, because through that trust and talking to someone, that's how we make that love. That's how we connect with our partners. When you get on with somebody and you might not know you've done it until it's too late, and you've gave them all these intimate details about your life, every bit of that, when it starts to come against you, is going to sling itself right back at you. You just gave them every bit of ammunition they needed to make your life a living hell. And
boy, do they take advantage of it every time.
Yes, they do. And so if you wonder why guard goes up, I'm not as open with you. I'm not telling you these things, after a guy that's been through something like this is now going back into another relationship. This is why. It's like, I've done that before. I'm not doing that again. Charles, what was your number one fear getting back out there and trying to get this going?
I don't know that I had a fear so much. What really happened in reality was when I started kind of seeing somebody, that's when the false allegations started. I actually went through my divorce relatively unscathed, so to speak. We just signed everything, and it was just documents that I prepared. As a paralegal, I just prepared the documents and stuff. But then I had gone out of town with a young lady, and that's when our false allegations started. And all of a sudden, I was abusive, and I was supposedly abusive the entire time. And I went from being a good guy, even post divorce, to everybody, to being abusive, and all kinds of other stuff, and TPOs. My kids were taken away from me for 30 days until I proved my innocence. I was guilty until proven innocent. So that's obviously something that, from my perspective, is a great fear. That why would you want to get with somebody who has the ability to take your kids away until you prove that you're innocent?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I guess, two questions wrapped into one, or two answers wrapped into one.
Understand, brother. I'm going to pass it there to you, Mick. What was some of those fears that you had getting back into this? I think you touched on it pretty good earlier, but
yeah, yeah. My biggest fear, I think, is just having a target on your head, and it's just a complete culture shock. There's really no other way to explain it. You just start to look at the entire world different. You don't really trust anybody, and it makes you really bitter. The false allegations obviously are a big part of that, but you also, you think somebody and you're going to get married with them and you have a kid with them, and then all of a sudden, for their convenience, they utilize whatever they can against you to completely destroy you, and they don't have any regard for your child. So it's like, and then you got the government and everything that's like kind of assisting them with it, and like you just feel like the whole entire world against you. So it's like, it seems near impossible to ever move on from that. I still struggle with that every single day. It feels like whenever I go on a random date, if I do, which is very rare, or like talk to anyone, it doesn't matter whether it's a prospective partner or someone at my work, I'm always like in the back of my head, like, is that a spy? Like, are they going to go like send this information back to somebody? Like, is there like a private investigator following me? It's just
makes you paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it, brother. How about you, Joe?
I didn't fear anything as far as the relationship goes. I think I did a pretty good job making sure I was engaged only with a woman that understood that feelings are not what we want to be driven by. We want to be love's primarily an action. So having someone that's biblically sound, that was critical. What I did fear was the ongoing pursuit of the family court against me and how that would impact my spouse, and it's been relentless. It's slowed down dramatically, like 90%, because I still had my ex filed a pretty hefty appeal. So, and it's years and years going on. So, but other than that, I didn't really fear anything in the new relationship. But there's a lot of baggage, and like someone else said, you got to really focus. I think it was Robert. You really got to focus on not bringing that baggage into the new relationship. So I was more concerned with me than I was with her.
All right. How about you there, Wade?
Oh, see, I think the first thing, like we should be able to, that next person, we should be able to, without a shadow of a doubt, want to be able to tell them and not be, do you know what I mean? Not feel vulnerable, which is how we are made to feel. And we don't get to say that word very often as men. I feel vulnerable. After my relationship ended in 2018, I got with that new partner. She was there through my court appearance, knew, seeing me fight against allegations. Once again, all comes back to allegations and feeling like I was, like they'll call us all a deadbeat dad, knowing that in my heart I'd done nothing wrong, but that was thrown at me. Then later on, towards the end of that relationship, she, although knowing that I was innocent of these accusations, would then throw them at me. So now the thought of ever having to move on again, I don't want to be open. I don't want to have to tell them that. I feel the moment I say that, it's going to get used against me again. But then I think if I don't tell them, it's a lie. I'm living a lie. I'm hiding what I went through. Why should I? We're innocent dads that have been through the run of the mill. We've been dragged through it left, right and centre. And we don't get to say how we feel. It's so hard for us to open up. And then the one time you do it, to have it then used against you. It's made me as a dad vulnerable. It really has. That's how I see myself. So going into my next relationship, I don't know if I would tell straight away or not. I just don't know. I'm guessing, I'm hoping that along the lines I meet that's someone that will understand and will make me want to say it. I'm guessing that's what it comes down to, finding that one woman that's going to make me want to tell her how I feel. And who knows, you know what I mean? But as of now, I feel vulnerable to that situation at the moment.
Gotcha, brother. How about you there, Jeff?
I think, Wade hit on a good word there, vulnerable. You build trust with people by showing them who you are, telling them your experiences, what brought you to, why and who you are today. When that's used against you in an adverse way, it's hard to take that wall down. You end up, kind of closing yourself in and not wanting to be honest with anybody. Because whether you're honest or not, you know how it can be spun. I would say my only fear really would be to bring the wrong person around my kids. I mentioned a smear campaign before. It destroyed my entire social circle. It had been something that was in progress for 4 or 5 years, and I only found out after the fact, based off of things that were said and things that I found, that they were communicating with close friends. So, the other thing is, I walk around town. Like Mick said before, I come from a small town. It's nothing worse than being at your kid's sporting event and having, you catch the eyes of somebody who's looking at you sideways, like thinking maybe you're the person that really did the things that you were accused of. So between that and social media, I mean, if you when it comes down to it, everybody's connected through mutual friends. So who's talking to who? Who knows what version of reality, the one that you lived or the one that was spun. So you find yourself, wanting to get back out there, but not wanting to repeat the same pattern. I've been married once. I have divorced once. I have 2 kids. If I marry again, it would be, hopefully my last time. I don't think any one of us ever got married with the intent to get divorced. That's not the way you enter the union. But it was for us, it was the reality. The other thing is I don't want that other person to have to go through the ridicule of having their life, looked at under a microscope the way that ours unjustly was. Somebody coming in and I'm asking them to trust me, and there's a third party or an outside source that's, picking away at who they are. They don't deserve that. So, that's been probably the biggest fear is how deep the false allegations have gone, how deep the smear campaign goes. It's not about self-esteem. I think I'm 43. Life is not over for me. I'm not the 20-year-old I was, but I'm not 70 either. So it'll work out. But things need to be calm and right in order to move forward. And so hoping I can resolve my situation soon to start taking those steps.
Robert, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Just that, you're healthy before. And if you're already looking at that, more than likely you probably are getting healthy if you're already internalizing stuff. But if you're not looking at your own emotional state before trying to move on, more than likely that relationship's probably not going to work out. You're going to emotionally throw up on them all the time, and you can't handle their own stuff if you can't handle your own. So I would suggest to get healthy first. I did. In fact, I waited over a year, even dating my wife before we even thought about getting married, just because I wanted to make sure she was going to be there. I wanted to make sure that I was okay, that my kids were okay. So, and I kind of handled it almost like an interview process when we got together. I was just like, okay. And if you think about it, it kind of is with what we're going through, right? So can you handle this? Can you handle that? This is what the job entails, basically, right? If you have kids, it's going to require this, require that. Like you almost have to handle it like an interview process, because if she says, oh, well, no, I can't handle, let's just say you have kids. I can't handle, I can only handle my own right now. I can't even handle yours. Or if you're having to step up in just, if you've known her a couple of days and you're already having to pick up her slack, it's like, wow, you're going to have to reevaluate yourself too. Do I really want to handle theirs? So anyway, that was just kind of the stuff I was looking at, but it worked out. So.
Yeah. Richie, tell us a little bit about that for you, man. What was some of your fears? I don't know if you've moved into a relationship yet or not, but what was some of your fears after being in a bad relationship moving forward?
So I haven't moved on to a relationship yet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if I'd call it fear. I'd call it maybe stress or something like that. I haven't been in a relationship since my separation, which is about 3 years now. But what I am going to say is, of course, people like us that's been through a whole lot and that we're still going through a whole lot, there's these walls that come up and they need to come down to a certain degree, but just all I want to say is don't get back in a bad relationship. That's, imagine going through this twice. That's what I'm stressed. That's what I don't want happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons, and I want to focus more on myself and trying to win all my trials. And as Jeff was saying earlier, I could relate to a lot of stuff he was saying. Jeff was saying he's from a small town, which is the same for me. 5,000 population. So, I mean, if your name got slandered in the fame and in the justice system, they're not doing anything about it. They're actually helping them defame your name. I mean, and you're from a small town. That's a whole lot of stress. I mean, your job, like, you can't imagine the amount of stress a lot of people have. And you guys know this. Like some of you guys know this, but a lot of people, the viewers that are going to be watching, have no idea, no clue what we're going through. And I mean, you could study this as long as you realize that this is actually happening. This is none of this is actually make believe. So yeah, so for fear, I don't have any fears, but doubts and like a whole lot of stress. Do I really want to get back into something? Do I really know someone? I mean, this girl, I've known this girl since high school. You know what I mean? Now I'm 30 something years old. You can never really know someone. You think you know someone. And then one day you realize, okay, maybe I didn't know this person. I've been with this person for 3.5 years. I've had kids. Plus, I knew this girl since kindergarten. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole lot of different things that just stack up into this. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, the craziest thing is, as I pass this around, ask you about your fears, what was some of those struggles that you was going through when you're talking about going through a new relationship? Nobody on here said that I was afraid the sex wasn't going to be good. I'm going to tell you, okay? There's a very important thing, and none of us talked about this before. There's a lot of people that say that's all that men want, that we want to treat women like objects. There wasn't a single person here that mentioned that, and I was waiting to see if somebody was going to bring it up, because the thing that I heard was people was afraid of how they was going to be received. They were going to have the support, trust. Trust was the number one thing that was brought up when you guys was passing this around, and I think that's very important, because there's a culture that's going out there that says that's all that we are about, right? And there's so many other things that we as men are looking for, and we've got to be able to have these conversations in order for people to hear it. So what I wanted to do, this will probably be the last question. We're right around 50 minutes before we get into the end of the episode. I want to pass this around. What is the number one thing for you guys when talking about in a relationship? What is the one thing that you desire the most out of your partner, and that you would be looking for in a relationship, or that you are looking for in the relationship that you're in currently? I'll pass it over to you, Ajit.
All right. Yeah. I mean, so there's definitely the aspect of companionship, right? But there's a lot more to that. Is somebody that you can confide in, like that trust that everybody just feels like you can't talk to anybody else, and you want that relationship with somebody you can really share your life with. So that's probably the one thing, and the problem with all of us is that we're afraid that that person is, if they decide to turn on you, will use all that information against you, right? And that's the hardest thing, to get to that level of trust. And then the other thing is, because I have kids, being able to be there. I mean, you can be a father, but that aspect of being able to get the inside scoop with your kids from a kind of a woman's point of view is super helpful. Like, my girlfriend is amazing with my kids, and she talks to them like she's their mom, and they share with her different things than they share with me. And so I think it's things for me as well as things for the kids, and things for our family that really work out. And that's what, for me, that's been the biggest blessing for me, is just, all those things that, companionship, somebody to confide in, and somebody there for my kids to create the sense of family again that was missing and that was ripped away, right? So that's the things for me.
And that's a very intimidating thing when moving on, having to introduce this new person to your children. It's you don't know if it's going to work. You're hoping it'll work, and just bringing that aspect into that life. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was another aspect which actually saved my kids, because there was a predator who was kind of like doing some inappropriate things with my kids, and my girlfriend saw that, and she was able to act on that and send a letter to the school saying that this teacher, there's a problem, and this teacher was a friend of my ex's, and they were spending a lot of time together, so she was able to intervene. I thought there was no chance that I could have done that, right? So
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that she got to step in and help you with that. Charles, what about you, man? What is the thing that you desire the most in a relationship and look for in someone that you're wanting to connect with?
Oh, it's definitely the sex.
I knew it. He
open
would
the
be
door
the
for
one
that.
dog on here.
You open the door for that, Eric. No, I mean that is important, but again, I've taken a very different approach post-divorce. Generally speaking, I adhere to the free agent lifestyle. But even with that being said, there's a emotional connection that you have to have with people. It's something that we have innately as human beings, as men, that we have to have somebody that we can confide in. And that's always the most important thing, because it kind of circling back, sex, you can get that from any woman in the world, right? There's 51% of the population is women. There's a lot of women out there. All of them can give it to you. But you have to have somebody that you can connect with, that you can go and have a good time with, that your kids like, because if they're going to be around in any way, shape, form, or fashion, your children have to like them. Your children are going to know them. I know that there's a lot of men that don't let their kids meet girlfriends until they're about to be married or they are married. I don't take that approach. My children know everybody, but that's just kind of the way that I operate my personal life. But it's really that companionship that you need, regardless of how far you want to go with the person.
How about you there, Mick? I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Yeah, man. I think that that really the biggest thing for me. I actually was just asked this by the person I'm talking to right now yesterday, and it's my my standard really isn't that high anymore, unfortunately. Like as far as having all these big Disneyland ideas or whatever you want to call them, really just just be a kind person and just have my back and treat me like family. Just don't turn your back on me, and of course like embrace my child as you would your own child, which I haven't came across that yet. That's a really hard bridge to cross, especially for your children, obviously. And I didn't grow up like that, so I really can't totally understand, but I can imagine. And you can't really hate on someone for because that's a big commitment, to intervene in someone's life in this form or fashion.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as you're a truthful, honest, and loyal person, that's all I can really ask.
That's it, brother. Pass it over to you, Joe.
Hey. So when I got divorced, I don't know if it was that afternoon, but it was definitely the next day. I was on the swiping on the dating sites, and I wanted the whole package, and I wasn't willing to settle. And I think I ended up by accident doing speed dating on just like someone else said, interviewing. Being really critical. I mean, just certain criteria. First of all, they had to be a Christian, but second of all, they had to be, understanding of everything that I was doing. And my wife, who I met, I actually, she had listened to my podcast, which helped her understand me a little bit because I had talked about some of this stuff. And then I think one of the really big insights I got, she had 2 ex-husbands. And both of them loved her, thought she was the bomb. And she made sure that her single son maintained a relationship with both of them. And that was real important to her. So I knew I didn't have an alienator, right? And so somebody who had a forgiving heart and just understood how to love.
Absolutely. That's a big thing too. I know even when I got with my wife, even though her and her ex-husband were split up, they were still friendly with each other and they got along, and even me and him get along. it makes a big difference. It really does. And you need to know, because if you can see that past, that could be a sign of what you're going to have to go through in your future. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. And so now I'm going to swipe to the right over to Wade. So, Wade, tell us about you, man. What is the number one thing that you are looking for in that relationship if you choose to start moving forward?
For me, it's got to be the just feeling that I can confide and be confided back in. Do you know what I mean? Someone that's just going to take on board what I've been through and understand me as a person. Because that's exactly what I would do in return. I don't care what baggage you come with. Be real with me. I would be real with you. I just don't think it's just so hard for me because I want to hold back, but I wouldn't want to. But I think for me, yes, personally, like most of us feel, the sex is great, as Charles said, but it's more about for us in our situation nowadays, it's more about the mental side of things. Someone that's going to understand us mentally and understand the situations we've been put through. I want someone that I'm going to feel comfortable to be able to say this is what happened when I've had a bad day and not feel that I can't not talk. And I guess the other thing has got to be someone that's like family values. I think strong family values. I mean, we all want someone that we know is going to be that great step parent to our children at some point or another. I mean, if I was to meet someone, I didn't feel instantly that they were going to be good to my children, and there's no way I could go there. I think for most dads, that's probably the strongest thing, is to know how our children are going to be treated right as well. Because you know what I mean? Who wants to be with someone if we're all here, we're all on this show now because we want the best for our children, more so than we do for ourselves. So I think once we know that our kids are all in the right situation, they're happy, I think that's when we'll find more happiness, to be fair, as dads.
I'm going to pass it down to you, Jeff.
Well, again, the guys had some great answers. Joe said about going on an app or a dating service. I'm kind of a person you need to meet directly in person. I guess I'm an acquired taste. So I didn't put much faith into the dating app. I went as far as to go ahead and make a profile. And then I sat there. I'm like, I'm not self-promotional. I can't. I feel like I'm selling myself to somebody.
You didn't use the filters?
No, you know what?
And get your wrinkles out?
I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. It needs to be a little bit more organic for me.
Yeah.
And some other things like Wade said, I'm moving forward. I'm going to consider the family history. I think that has an overwhelming amount to do with what they view as what a marriage is, and also if it did go awry, are they somebody that can come to you and talk to you directly, or is it something that they're going to work on self-destruction of the relationship? Seems in a lot of instances, the guys that find ourselves in this situation, the more I've talked to other guys, if the effort was put into the relationship and making it work than it was in trying to destroy the relationship, none of us would be here. The other thing is somebody has got to be, a genuine person that has self-awareness, who owns who they are and accepts me for who I am. There's 9 of us on screen. I don't see a single halo. There's only one perfect man that ever walked the earth, and he's not with us anymore. So, we all make mistakes, but I think the other thing that's important is I have to be able to tell you my past, because it's what made me who I am today, without me giving you ammunition to use it against me at a later date, or take grains of truth and twist them into something that they're not. Every one of us, I mean, we're all men. We grew up, right? I mean, who you were in your 20s is not who you are in your 30s or in your 40s. Otherwise, you didn't grow as a person. So if I can't tell you, my experiences without them, being sacred, and without it being between you and I, it's not somebody I'd be interested in being in a bunker with. That's what a relationship comes down to, is, being in a foxhole, being in a bunker with somebody. And if I can't trust you, I can't have it,
Yep. Absolutely.
Especially on the back 9.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to pass it to you, Robert.
So I was looking for a great stepmother to my kids. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend or whatever. Like, if you're not stepmother material, there's no reason in dating. And so I wasn't going to go there. If I was going to date, I was going to date someone not for I'm lonely, I just need someone there. I was looking for a great stepmother. Also someone that was supportive, understanding, honest, open, trustworthy, and a good communicator. If guys, I can tell you right now, if they're not a good communicator, there is no reason getting in with them right now, because you can solve anything as long as you can talk about it and work through it. If somebody stonewalls you, that is the biggest predictor of divorce. So if someone's stonewalling you while you're dating, that's supposed to be the best part of your relationship, or, at least building it. If they're stonewalling you already, leave, because you can't solve anything if you can't talk through it.
All right, I'm going to pass it over to you, Richie.
So I'd have to go with just normal values, right? Just the quality stuff, respect. I mean, the way I treat someone is the way I want to be treated, right? So if I respect someone, I want the respect, just boundaries, respect boundaries, to be faithful. I mean, all these things, that's just the basic stuff. That's all I'm looking for, right? And I think everybody should be looking for that, striving for that. You don't want somebody to be unfaithful, sleeping with everyone, or whatever, how you want to see it, or just simple as that for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think this is probably going to bring us to the end of the show, but I want to thank you so much for coming on here. I mean, what you see right now is vulnerability, men talking about their emotions, what they're looking for in a relationship, what were some of their insecurities, things that happened to them, and how we carry that forward. And we try to make ourselves aware. There's men out there that definitely want to be in relationships, but they want to make sure that these are some of the needs that are met, And you know what? We got to expect the same to be the same for these women. So I think having these conversations are very important. And I couldn't have had that conversation without you guys. So guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Dad Talk Today. I wanted to do this little experiment today. Most of those are guys that I've never even talked to before, but how similar was their answers? This is what's going on with a lot of our men after they end up getting out of these relationships. But I don't think there's much of a community and encouragement for them to get out there and speak about what's going on with them. We see pages every single day where it's made it safe for women to go and speak about that. And I don't know that it's that the men doesn't have places to do that, but it's not really encouraged. And that's something I'm wanting to connect much more with the audience on coming up, because these sound like good men that want to move on, but they're afraid. And I know what that's like. When that lady wrote me that message, I remember what it was like when I very first started dating again. And I was so standoffish, and I would push back. I was hot one second and I was cold the next, because I did not want to get hurt again. It was a defense mechanism, self-preservation, if you will. And, you see these pages that say women don't need men, men don't need women. That's a lie, because without men and women being together, we wouldn't have life. Somewhere along the way, we have lost that connection, and we need to get it back. I believe in that nuclear family. I believe in that relationship. I believe in the benefits that it brings. Just somewhere along the way, I think there's been a disconnect, and we need these conversations so we can promote that lifestyle and to get it back to the way it once was. I tell you what, though, guys, like I said, I'm looking at doing some more episodes like this, and I want to connect more with the audience. Here is a link right here, patreon.com/dadtalktoday. If you become a member there, that is going to allow us to be able to bring more of these resources and more of these shows, because it's a lot of work. I had to get off of here and go straight in here to edit it so it could be played for you tonight. And I need some help over on the back end. So for members, people that join on the Patreon, that's where I'm going to be picking from in the audience first to come on these shows. I'm looking at doing them at least once a week. I would like to be able to do this once a day, if we could get it going. But in order to be able to do that, we're going to need your help. So head on over there to Patreon, and I appreciate everybody for doing that. And guys, that's the end of this episode. I hope it was as educational for you as it was for me. Sometimes I need to hear from these guys, hear what they're going through. But pretty much everything they said tonight, I know what it's like. I've been there. And I appreciate every single one of you for helping and becoming a part of that conversation with us tonight. And hopefully next time we go live, you guys will join us. You know what, guys? Stay safe out there. There's been a lot of hate that is going around. This world is getting sicker every day. And I want to make sure each and every single one of you are taking care of yourselves And I hope if you are going through one of these custody situations, you're going through a bitter divorce, you're going through these relationship issues, I pray, man, that things are going to start to look up for you. And we're in here, we're in it together, and we want to be there for you every step of the way. Make sure to go join the Dad Talk Today support group. It's a free group with parents that are going through these issues just like you, where you can write in there and get support. But guys, until then, we will see you next time. Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next.